it is such an important thing that we committing to ourselves, and by committing to oneself, we also commit to others and to community. What you do here by dropping in and pausing and stopping and getting to know yourself a little better, or even if that's not happening, just pausing and resting, is certainly helping the nervous system to calm and feel a little bit more steady. And that helps the brain to calm as well, and to think a little bit more clearly, and to become a little bit more non-reactive. And this is what we need so much when we look after ourselves, but also when we relate and interact with others. So today is a very special day here in Australia. That's where I'm streaming from. It is RUOK Day. And for those who haven't met me before, my name is Regina Gerlach. I am streaming from Perth, Western Australia. I'm a clinical psychologist, a certified mindfulness and self-compassion practitioner, and I am the host of these daily drop-in meditation sessions. And it is very important today that we spend a little bit of a time or an opportunity together to explore a little bit, okay, so what does this Are You Okay initiative mean? As mentioned, it is very important, and I really would like to offer a particular meditation around this topic. So it is important that we start a conversation with someone we might have noticed has changed in their behavior. Before I even go there, I must just share this personal experience that I don't know about you, but I'm so used to this question, someone asking me, how are you? It's just a form of, or a gesture of greeting another. But when I heard this question the first few times when I arrived in Australia to settle in, I always thought, okay, so I have to tell people how I feel. Because in the culture I'm coming from, it's a very serious question that would be only asked if someone is interested and has time to listen. Okay, I learned very early on, this is just a greeting formula and nothing else. So how about when you ask this question, yes, you use this as hello, a greeting, but maybe today is the invitation, and beyond today, if you notice someone is changing in their behavior, withdrawing, maybe presenting with a little bit more irritated, moody, agitated, presenting with losing interest, becoming a little bit more quiet, or acting differently than they normally do, staying back at work, arriving late. And you know, that person maybe also has to deal with some additional circumstances that sort of impacting on their well-being, general health and mental health. Might be family-related issues, might be relationship-related issues, might be financial issues, might be career issues. There are so many reasons that people have to deal with. So this day is an invitation to remind each other of this, and to reach out to another, and to start a conversation that goes beyond how are you, or better asking, are you okay? So the invitation is to not only initiate this talk, but also to see how can you actually keep this conversation going. If there is someone you care for, or you notice someone is changing, this could be a family member, this could be a peer, this could be a colleague, this could be a friend, this could be even your partner. And sometimes we are really struggling with, we don't know how to start the conversation, how to hold the conversation, and where to go from there. We often feel quite helpless because we want to fix, we want to solve the problem. We want that person, of course, to feel better, but we don't know how to do this. And, you know, we don't have all the answers and skills. So that in itself can then also cause a little bit of concern, and we avoid these conversations because we don't know how to help. But realizing that spending time sharing the interest in the other person sharing with them, oh, I noticed there's a bit of a change and it concerns me. I worry for you. Would it be okay to ask this question? Are you okay? And when you ask this question, you just don't want to hurry and rush off. You want to have a bit of time, because be prepared. You may get an answer. This conversation can be life-changing. So that is important. And then when you keep this conversation going, how do you respond? If someone really opens up, what to say, what to do, how to behave, and where to go from there. And I think how meditation comes in here, and this session that we want to do, is I want to take you through. And I want to invite you asking yourself, am I okay? Because I really think this is an important part, to ask oneself, am I okay? And not rushing and brushing over or under the carpet. Really dropping in, connecting with this one moment. Of course, it takes courage to do that, but it is possible to explore it and to be with it. And by experiencing it yourself in this particular way, this may also help you to start and hold this conversation. And that listening sometimes is already enough. So that's what I want to do with you today, and I hope it gives you some ideas on how maybe to follow up later. But maybe some of you have had already a tough conversation this morning with someone else or with themselves. And this meditation could then also be an offering to simply ground yourself and reconnect and recollect yourself. Because when we have this conversation, so we also need to be grounded. Right? Be aware of, are you capable to ask this question? Are you ready to hear the answer? Are you in that space? If you don't have time, don't do it. Because, what do? You're torn in that. If you don't feel well yourself, maybe then you don't have the energy and the skills to hold a conversation like that, or to open up, or to offer that question. And once you've done the conversation with someone else, this is affecting you. We're all human beings. So it does something to you, hearing if someone is indeed opening up, but they're actually not okay. This is doing something. So it would be good practice as well, once you had that conversation, to also check in with yourself how this is affecting you, impacting you, and also using this moment as part of transition to ground yourself before you move on to the next thing. I think we often forget this. We rush in and out, but I think it's important. This is how mindfulness meditation comes into play. Okay, so the invitation is to come into a comfortable posture. And just checking whether you're ready to get in touch with yourself and becoming more observant and aware of changes and reaction. And that really helps us. The more we are aware of what is happening right now, the more we find out what we need, and the more we find out what we're capable of, and the more we find out what the other person needs. So starting a conversation with a friend or a family member, peer, or colleague, if you notice they have changed, and display the signs that I have briefly mentioned at the beginning, is important. Ask, listen, encourage action, and check in afterwards. Starting a conversation, it's useful to ground yourself first. So let's cultivate these attitudes of patience, curiosity, acceptance, non-judgment, kindness, and compassion as you're coming into a posture that feels sustainable, comfortable. So you could sit on a chair, you could sit on a cushion, you could lay down even if you like. Maybe, if possible, making sure you don't get distracted. This is your time. This is time for self-care. So this session today is an invitation to check in and contemplate a very important question. Giving it more time. Asking yourself, am I okay? So before you go there, perhaps as you settled in and just getting a sense of togetherness, this community, we have many people attending and being here with us across the world, isn't that amazing? So perhaps imagining and taking a deep breath in, really breathing in deeply into your lungs, filling the lungs. And then as you're breathing out, doing it slowly, maybe as if you would be blowing out a candle, doing this 3 times together. And if it feels right and you feel safe, closing the eyes fully or partially. As you're doing it a 3rd time, breathing in deeply, holding the breath at the top as you're breathing in at the top of the in-breath, and then breathing out slowly, as long as you can, fully emptying your lungs. And then letting the awareness descend into the body, inwards. And as you're taking your seat and arriving, embodying the actuality of sitting, noticing, is there any tension or stress in any part of your body? Right, as if you would be under the CT scan, just from head to toe and all the way up again. You could just check in. Is there any tightness, soreness, stress in any part of the body? And if so, allowing your heart to melt a bit. And maybe really allowing yourself to treat yourself as you would treat a friend or someone who is struggling. Really offering yourself the same kindness you would bring to another being. Noticing what this moment feels like. And dropping this question. If it feels safe, how am I? Remembering you have choice, so if you don't want to do it in that way, you maybe can just listening to the questions and just being here in this space. If that feels safer, you can continue focusing on the breath or another natural anchor. Or you can just simply imagining asking this other person that you have become aware of that is struggling. You could even kind of use these guidance or guided instructions that I am offering here to ask them. So there's a lot of choice. But maybe taking a stand, arriving here and checking in with yourself. How am I really? Noticing what is arising right now. As you're dropping this question, how am I really, really? There might might be thoughts arising. There might be emotions arising. There might be a particular sensation that we become aware. There might be an impulse. There might be a sense of heaviness, a sense of tiredness. So it's not really getting involved in all the narratives that may arise following a thought or an emotion or a sensation. It's just simply taking note, right, this is how I'm feeling right now. And maybe it's something that you have felt all the time, maybe something you have not noticed at all, but it was there all the time. Who knows? This is the beauty of dropping in and seeing it a little bit more clearly. How am I? What does this moment feel like? Unpleasant, pleasant? And again, if this is difficult to do, imagine a colleague or another person, a dear friend or a loved one, who's maybe having a tough time. The one that you want to talk to. What would you say to that person? How would you even ask this question from heart to heart? And could you offer the same message to yourself? So allowing yourself to see, hear, feel your way into this moment. What does it feel like? Where do you feel it the most? Make contact with the discomfort or the tension or the stress, wherever you can feel that in your body. Maybe something is bubbling up as you're doing this particular way of dropping in, something bubbling up that really, really matters because you're perhaps very passionate about. Maybe. Would it be okay to simply get in touch with that feeling in your body? If it's a pleasant feeling, of course you get in touch with it too, because that is something that we often don't do either. So know it. Know it not from an intellectual way, but from a sensing, from a sensed feeling, pleasantness. Where can you feel it in the body? What's that like? But if it's uncomfortable right now, get in touch with it too. And perhaps as you're becoming a little bit more aware or opening up and just dropping this question, maybe it just stops there. Maybe you want to go a little bit further. Maybe you want to ask yourself, okay, so I'm noticing a sense of discomfort or some unpleasantness. What do I need now? What do I need right now? This is something where we often feel so helpless, we don't know what to do. And we don't even ask this question ourselves or the other person, what do you need? And maybe just listening or kindness is already enough. That's all. Because it gets really lost in our hurriedness and rushness. What do I need right now? Perhaps if this is a moment that is difficult, just saying and acknowledging, this moment hurts. Ooh, this is a tough moment. This feels a little bit stressful. So sometimes acknowledging what it feels like and responding with kindness can also bring some softness, maybe. Also keeping in mind that when we feel that way, we often also feel very isolated in this experience. And that's another reason why it's so important to reach out and to remember this is how it feels when a person struggles. So if you have a friend struggling, or a colleague or peer or partner or family member, or even a pet, right? This is how it feels when someone struggles. So remembering it's not only you, that suffering is part of life. This is common humanity. Okay, and going a little step further, and how can you respond? How can you respond to yourself right now? Would it be appropriate to put a hand over your heart region? Or whatever, wherever it feels it needs some soothing in the body. Maybe over the belly. Maybe just cupping the hands on your lap. Feeling the warmth and the gentle touch of your hands. And just noticing this. Holding yourself right now. And when you offer this to a friend, you just don't want to give them a hug or touch them. Be aware of your ask for permission. What do you need? Do you need a hug? Can I give you a hug? And be prepared for both. Yes, then do it. No, then don't take it personal. And right now, perhaps offering yourself a few phrases here on top of feeling that soothing touch. As an act of self-kindness, perhaps saying to yourself, may I be kind to myself. May I give myself what I need. May I accept myself as I am. Or maybe, may I protect myself. Sometimes we need a little bit more yang, so we need to protect. May I protect myself. And if you are concerned for a friend, you can also weave them in. You can send out these wishes of kindness towards them. May you be kind to yourself. May you protect yourself. May you be free from inner and outer danger. So letting this resonate. So dropping in, asking the question, being prepared to listen and giving it some space. Encouraging to explore what is needed. Sometimes we just need someone to listen. Sometimes we need a little bit more. And don't forget checking in. And responding doesn't always mean to do something practical. Responding can be an act of compassion and self-compassion, wishing this person well, wishing yourself well. So let it resonate and feel encouraged to start a conversation with someone you have noticed who struggles as well. And if you are struggling, please don't wait too long. Maybe talk to someone. Seek help. We often really, I think that's a problem, we often really wait for too long. We think we need to feel very, very bad before we reach out or seek professional help. That's actually not true. You can come anytime and talk to someone and develop skills. And with the practice of mindfulness meditation, and maybe something happened today that was sort of showing up that you didn't realize, recognizing early warning signs. That gives you an opportunity for choice. That gives you an opportunity to think a little bit about, what do I need? And maybe it is a listening, maybe it's a kindness, that's enough, but maybe you need to talk to someone. And that is okay. That also includes self-care, self-kindness, and self-compassion. And let me conclude this sitting today with a poem that has been written by David White. Start close in. Don't take the second step or the third. Start with the first thing close in. The step you don't want to take. Start with the ground you know, the pale ground beneath your feet. Your own way of starting the conversation. Start with your own question. Give up on others people's questions. Don't let them smooth as something simple. To find another's voice, follow your own voice. Wait until that voice becomes a private ear, listening to another. Start right now. Take a small step. You can call your own. Don't follow someone else's heroics. Be humble and focused. Start close in. Don't mistake that other for your own. Start close in, don't take the second step or the third. Start with the first thing close in. The step you don't want to take. So please keep this in mind, let this echo for a moment. Let this resonate. And then maybe shifting the focus over to the awareness of the breath. Knowing that you're breathing. Knowing that you're not alone, that you are with so many like-minded, kind, compassionate people. Knowing that there's help out there. It is not a weakness to seek help. It may take courage, but it is very appropriate to reach out and see someone and talk to someone. To looking after yourself and the other. So may you all be well. May you all be happy. May you all live free from in and outer danger as best possible and in peace. May you and I be healthy. Maybe moving your toes, your fingers, your feet, your hands, starting to bring some movement into the body. Allowing the body to stretch. Going gently, taking the visual field in, opening the eyes, lifting the gaze, look around, orient yourself to space. Really lovely. And take your time. Maybe you need a little bit longer to let that all sink in, to rest, to be ready to do the next thing, to be ready to start this conversation, even with yourself. Thank you so much for joining me today, because this was a very special session, and I trust you understand I couldn't reply to your comments. I could see them coming up on the side. I really appreciate your commitment and your willingness to share or provide some feedback. It's just lovely and so meaningful. So if you're finding yourself really, really struggling, please reach out. Look up the numbers online, call Lifeline Australia, look up RUOK Day online. I think it's ruok.com.au. You find all the resources in terms of services and phone numbers you can call. If you're finding yourself you're in an emergency even, or concerned for someone who is at risk to self, please call 000. But also use this website, Are You OK, for some inspiration, for some tips, how to do this conversation, what kind of questions can you ask. I have sort of woven them into our meditation practice, so you can replay this meditation session if you wish to do a little bit more work for yourself, or getting ready for initiating this conversation. It is really important to keep in mind, it is just not only asking that question. Keep yourself in mind when you ask that. Keep the other person in mind. Be available and listen. I mean, you're noticing that urge, I need to do something, I need to save their life, I don't know what to say. Being aware of it is mindfulness. Allow yourself a moment to pause and breathe before you respond. And that in itself is a very compassionate, self-compassionate response. Wishing the other well, and sort of exploring together a little bit, okay, so what do you need? What could help? Where could you go? Don't do it as an advice, just be encouraging. Creating that safe place with the other person is very important. I wish everyone to be well, and it is important what we do here, not only for yourself, but also for the community. Thank you so much for joining me today. Be well. Goodbye for now.